Most people don't have a problem consciously that they're aware of with their vibration, right? Because they don't even think in
Mm.
those terms. They have physical problems, they have cancer, they have arthritis, they have anxiety, or all these different symptoms is what people have, and that's what they try to solve. And
Hmm.
our technology has been proven to increase ATP production, to accelerate wound healing, even by 50 to 100%, to improve your blood. It was shown to reverse stage 1 and stage 2 of blood clotting within 10 minutes.
Our
Yeah.
body always has had the ability to heal, but we get super compromised when we get pushed down by all the incorrect frequencies from cell towers and mobile phones, especially now. And you have tapped into, you talk about the quantum field or scalar energy. How did you learn to tap into them?
With a team of scientists, we developed something that can really work on pure quantum energy. So our blocks, the Leela blocks, Infinity block, all of those blocks, they're quantum energy generators, basically.
So, does this retune the body? Like, is that what this is really all about?
Having a block, for example, around you, then you are in this field and it does two things. Basically,
Hey, I'm here today with Philipp von Holtzendorff-Fehling. And I'll let you pronounce your name perfectly for us, Philip. But I'm very excited because you've got some technology that no one else in the world has anything even close to. And it's a very deep level of energetic support for our bodies and for our environment. And if you could give us a really quick snapshot of where you are right now, how you got here, and what your mission is, and all about the founding of your technology, and then we'll get right into the details.
sounds good. Well, just physically, I'm in Winter Park, Florida right now. I live in Florida and in Costa Rica. And when I'm not here or there, then I'm traveling, usually for business or for some tennis tournaments. My background really is in corporate. I was for many years in corporate Europe and in corporate US. I was vice president at T-Mobile, running 14 countries in Europe, also VP at T-Mobile US, was on the board of a multi-billion dollar company in the US. And in 2016, I left corporate to really just follow what's in my heart, what's my own vision. And to bring this all together in the early 2000s in parallel to my business career, I started to notice that I was really unhappy in my life at that time, and I had cut myself off my own emotions and feelings, and I discredited my intuition, the intuition in others, basically. And I realized there's something more to life and I need to explore this. I need to get into that. And that's when I started reading about meditation and yoga. Then I started practicing meditation and yoga. I got trained in various energy healing techniques, shamanic practices, past life regression work, all of that. Not really to be the healer that everyone then turns to, but I kind of wanted to do that for myself. And then I
Hmm.
got really curious. And throughout this journey, I wanted to find the best healers I could find in the world because I didn't want to just learn from the Reiki dude across the street. I wanted to speak with the ones that can heal a broken arm in a couple of days or that can, just do absolutely amazing things that our brains would usually think is impossible.
Hmm.
So I saw all those things that are impossible that actually were possible. And then I
Mhm.
realized the shift within me and all of that. And that really took me further. Then I met my wife, my wife then, we separated in February of this year, but she was born with the ability to see aura and energy fields. And when I met her, that catapulted me even further into the world of the unseen, if you will. And yeah, that was sort of happening parallel to the business career. Then there was an instant, and this is kind of like the last puzzle piece that my wife at the time, she got diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. And then
Hmm.
all the doctors told her, well, you can't heal it. You have to live with it.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't accept it. She certainly didn't accept it either, and she has her own abilities, but it's more difficult to heal yourself than others, actually.
It is.
You will
Yeah.
know that. And it sparked in me the passion for biohacking and for bioenergy hacking, really to find the next best stuff, which culminated ultimately in this vision for the quantum technology and frequency medicine that we have today, that can promote changes and support for the human biofield and ripple through into the physical. And that's pretty much what we're doing now. So that's the whole story in a nutshell.
Right. So that's like 24 years of journey so far when you really got kicked into gear, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Cool. So my journey started 2004, and then I went a very similar pathway. I didn't have the same directions, but what I was looking for and what I asked, because I made the request, because you can't, I would never find you in a million years. There's no way because there's 8 billion people. So I knew that I couldn't find you. But if I could be led to you, if I could be spiritually led, I would be willing to do whatever it takes because I was going to be dead by 2007. I had a tumor, a large tumor that was growing in my perineum. I didn't want the doctors to touch. I couldn't stand the idea of going the medical route at all. Everything they offered me was totally barbaric. And I knew, I woke up one morning and I knew there were people on the earth somewhere who had top level knowledge in each category because we're categorical beings. We have 15 different systems that run together and they have to be running in synchronicity. They have to be congruent and each system has to be strengthened because it's like a chain link. If a link gets weak and it breaks, you're dead. And I had 3 weak links. So I was fortunately led very much, slowly but surely, to one at a time. And I was willing to do whatever it took. And that meant, whatever suffering, whatever fun, whatever money, whatever time was required, so be it. And so it was a very amazing journey. It sounds like a very similar pathway in the sense that you've really achieved the things that you needed to get for your physical body, because you are the asset. You personally are, as you know. Your body is your number one asset, and if you lose that, you're out of here. So where you go next, well, that's okay. But we are supposed to be here as long as possible. And let me ask you a question: How much more valuable are you today, Philip, than you were just 10 years ago? Like as far as value creation on the earth?
Well, first of all, I believe we're always as valuable as we are, and we don't need to do anything to have that value
Mhm.
from a maybe material value perspective or what you can create or the potential to create. That has certainly increased over time, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not
Just
talking about
because,
your, yeah, I'm not talking about personal worth either. I'm
yeah,
not talking about money or wealth or any of that kind of stuff, but your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, your ability to touch way more people today than you did 10 years ago,
correct. Yeah.
right? So think about what it's going to be like in 10 years from now. So
Yep.
you hanging in here, your energy is inside your body. You are the energy. And it's you've been given a gift. Obviously, we've all been given gifts and knowledge and intelligence. So your iterative process, what I love about having interviews with people like yourself, is that you are willing to open up and explore and look at possibilities that other people were not looking at. How many people, percentage wise in the earth, look to the unseen realm, which is even more real than the seen realm? So the technology that you have is super intriguing, and I think everybody's going to love to find out more about it. So now these devices that you have did you invent them? Did you use other people's inventions, or how did it all come to pass?
We did not use other people's invention. We literally developed it on our own with a similar understanding, though, that also several others on Earth had, like Nikola Tesla, for example. He certainly understood how you can vibrate the ether, even though most of his work was really on electricity, and we do not work on electricity at all. That's not one of the areas we're working on, but we understand the ether, and we understand how to vibrate it, and we understand how to create. high consciousness fields.
Hmm.
And maybe to just say this here, what the breakthrough really was. I mean, we did not invent the quantum field. We did not invent source energy, quantum energy, obviously, right? Because that is always there and has always been there and will always be there. What
Yes.
we created was a way, we found a method on how to harness and concentrated this very energy in a way that no one else can, at least from a public perspective, right? There's nothing else publicly available that goes that deep, and we haven't seen anything. There's probably some hidden technologies out there where people also know how to do that, but they don't make it accessible for humanity. So
Right.
that's where this is new. And yeah, it sounds magical. Somehow it is magical, but it's extremely real and can be scientifically proven.
Right. Yeah, that's the cool part. You got the studies to back up the information. So it's interesting you mentioned Nikola Tesla, and everybody back in the day thought that he was, pretty out there. Well, he was, but he wasn't out there from reality. He was tapping into it. A friend of mine whose name is Bob Connolly, and I'm going to introduce you to him. He has spent the last, now it's 18 years, traveling all over the world and gathering all of the data, interviewing all of the people in all of the companies that he could find who had tapped into Tesla's medicine. And he's created a documentary. It's a three-part, 90 minutes each series, which is now winning awards all over the place. It's just rolled out this year on all of the medicine, the actual energetic medicine, the devices that he was using, like the violet ray and all these different like pulse electromagnetic frequencies and using the correct radio frequencies to help the body support itself to get healed. Because all we're here to do is support the healing that's within us. As you said, this energy's always existed. Our
Yeah.
body always has had the ability to heal, but we get super compromised when we get pushed down by all the incorrect frequencies from cell towers and mobile phones, especially now, and all the things, these devices that we have with us at all times. I got two of them. And, we need to be protected from these and have everything resynchronized back to the human vibration. So you mentioned that there are things in the unseen realm. What are the big ones for you that you have tapped into? You talk about the quantum field, there's scalar energy, there's all these things that have existed forever. How did you learn to tap into them? Who were the people who gave you the first clues?
So I got one of the sparks from other companies that tried to work with quantum energy, and it
Hmm.
sounded really great, but they didn't really do a good job. They only used a tiny little bit of quantum energy, and then they used magnetism or electricity to amp it up. What they were
Hmm.
doing, though, is they were actually destabilizing the quantum field, which adds stress to the human body if you then leverage it. So you don't want to combine the two, really.
Right.
And then we just looked into it with, you know, a team of some very gifted people and then also with a team of scientists. And we developed something that can really work on pure quantum energy in a very concentrated fashion so that we can create these. I mean, it's not just only a field, it's actually a multidimensional quantum space that we can create. And that our blocks basically they have that. So our blocks, the Leela blocks, Infinity block, Grand block, all of those blocks, they're quantum energy generators basically. And within each of them, you have a multidimensional quantum space. And in that space, time and distance doesn't matter. And you
Hmm.
everything you put in there gets commingled on a frequency basis also. So that's why you can leverage it to transport a frequency of a lemon into a silver coin or a frequency of frankincense into water or anything within seconds, literally. That's one of
Hmm.
the things that happens. And everything that you put inside gets infused with this high consciousness field. That's in essence what it is, but we really rather call it quantum energy. So you can say it gets infused with quantum energy. And what does that do? It amps up the vibration. So if you have, let's say, gold, you take a piece of gold or a gold watch or a silver watch or something like that, or silverware, for example, you look at that before you put it in, then you put it in, and the vibration is so much higher. People that can sense energy, they notice that, they clearly see that the energy vibration is higher. People that cannot do that and that even believe there's no energy, they would tell you at least it looks more beautiful, and they can't tell you why.
Mhm.
So it's very interesting. Then with water, it has certainly also a mechanism. So if you put water inside, you create primal water. The primal
Mhm.
spring water,
Yep.
the Emoto Institute, for example, and others have found that within just 3 minutes, by putting water in the block, it improves water faster than any other method they'd ever tested before. So the Emoto Institute is actually reselling our products, and it has been doing that since 24 months, I think, which
Mhm.
usually they don't do that because they don't usually sell products. They just research them. But that's
Mhm.
just in a nutshell what it does with substances. And then at some point we can certainly talk about what that means to the human body.
Right. So what I'm doing right now is I have one of the devices that you wear or keep in your pocket, and I've got it next to my water. How long would that take to go through the glass into the water and actually charge it so that when I drink the water, I'm drinking the energy?
Yeah, the frequencies go in there within seconds, I would say maybe a minute, to really get also more charge from the quantum energy. Ideally, probably 10, 15 minutes. So it does take some time with the capsule. It's not like the block. If you took a grand block, you're done in 30 seconds, basically. But that
Wow.
is also a different device, different price point. That you just put the capsule beat up behind it or next to it, and then 10, 15 minutes, and it's perfect.
Right.
But 1 minute, you get at least the frequencies, right? So.
Right. So, in order to have people tap into this knowledge and this wisdom of the quantum fields, when I was looking at the quantum computers, and this started back in 2013 with the D wave, and they were talking about the quantum energy is like a normal computer, a supercomputer is zeros and ones in series, and they're either a zero or a one. But the quantum can be zero and one simultaneously, which makes it instantaneous, so they could amp up the computing power like beyond any comprehension level. And the claim was that they were tapping into an infinite number of dimensions where there's infinite universes that are like an infinite number of universes. So, what are your thoughts around that kind of thought pattern?
I'm not an expert at all on in terms of quantum computing. I also don't really believe that a lot of those things are actually possible that they're talking about. I think that a real quantum computer couldn't be used for what they want to use it for. Um, for example, you couldn't use it for a task of just hacking a blockchain or something like that. I think that's just some fear mongering, and
Hmm.
it's over the head. I don't see that, to be honest, because it's a high consciousness field, and its nature, the high consciousness field by nature that we use at least, just puts everything back into balance. And yes, it is true that it can calculate basically everything at once,
Hmm.
which, it doesn't need time to figure something out or to know something. It's instantly there. It's always there. Um, but again, then I don't see the computing mechanism there really. But
Right.
also just
Yeah.
take it as my perspective because I'm no
Mhm.
expert in quantum computing.
Yeah. And I think the human body is far superior to anything that could ever be manufactured by someone in the computer realm. We are by far more intelligent and automatic, and so many things are happening in the background of our being. So what you're talking about is tapping us physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually into a realm that is extremely important that we could be potentially blocked from because of all the confusion around us, with all the
Right.
man-made garbage, whether it's pollutants in the air from tire dust, brake dust, or to pollutants in the air that is coming frequency-wise and hammering us from all these different outside forces, which I think there's a lot of science behind the damage that's real from getting these wrong frequencies. So does this retune the body? Like, is that what this is really all about? Retuning us into what we're naturally supposed to be like?
Correct. So it does two things. That if you are having a block, for example, around you, then you are in this field and it does two things. It does what you just described, that it basically helps us to be again in our inherent resonance, right? So that that our biofield is the way it's supposed to and it's vibrating as it's supposed to. But then it also harmonizes the environment around us so that you have two levels it's working on. Let's take an example of electromagnetic fields. So everyone is bombarded with electromagnetic fields, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now you're strengthening your body and your biofield with that, so that it's as if the frequency is the 5G, 4G, and so on just goes right through you. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, it's harmonizing those around you already, that when they hit you, there's nothing negative about it. There's no negative effect that can be measured. And we've proven this over and over again. So what I'm saying isn't just some thought or perspective. It's a fact.
Right. So the word harmony is going to be like a key word in our conversation, because if we're in harmony with that which is nature, original, heirloom, how our bodies really should be bodies that don't die, but they do. They fall apart and they die eventually in this realm that we are born into. So as far as supporting the body's ability to stay alive longer, but not just stay alive, get a little bit healthier every day, does this technology support all of those systems simultaneously?
Yes, it does. And it is not only for humans, for any physiological organism. It doesn't matter. You can support any pet with this, any plant. You get, more plant growth, obviously out of that. It's supporting on that level. Yeah. And
Right. So
and and
you,
everywhere you can think of. For humans, I often say also, even though that's out there for some people, but you will understand, we all of us, we have our blueprint, our original blueprint, and then through the DNA, which is like a crystalline structure,
mhm.
our blueprint gets translated into this reality. Now, due to all these effects of blue light, EMFs, all stress in the world and everything else, bad food, bad air, bad water, this crystalline structure is sort of dirty. Think of a window, a living room window that is completely dirty, and then the sun shines, but it can't shine through fully. Now suddenly you wipe the windows and suddenly all the sun can come in. That's pretty much what's happening. And that is not just for one aspect of our body or biofield. It's literally about all aspects.
Right. So is it amplifying, or is it just simply retuning us to that which is original?
Both. I would say it's sort of the Autobahn to connect with yourself fully.
Right.
It invites you into your own completeness and gets you there quicker. That's pretty much what it does. It doesn't
So,
mean
so
you should stop doing yoga and meditation and all these other great things. It's actually great if you keep doing that, but all of that will lead to, you know, to your own essence quicker.
okay. So yeah, I mean, we all do movement. We eat as clean food as we can get. We eat the best fuels that are not going to contaminate us. We do all those things already. And anyone who's in the health space knows about most of that. We're here to educate, of course, about those things also, and make sure you're getting detoxification elements and getting all the pollutions out of our body. The number one pollutant above all is the air we're breathing. And the air we breathe is, of course, a major, beyond what we realize. I mean, wow, the air is amazing. It can transmit frequencies, a million or a billion frequencies at once. And yet, if I'm on a phone, I don't have your conversation next door to me on the same type of phone using the same frequencies. It's like remarkable stuff. But all those debris, those nanoparticles that you can't see, taste, or smell that are very real, they go in and they fill our body up. So this is supporting our ability to detox, to get energy, to think clearer, to have a better body intelligence, right? Because our bodies are so intelligent, but they need to be supported so we can tap into the intelligence. Like I've run into different things in my life where suddenly I had a much higher level of intelligence, but it was always there, but I just didn't have access to it. Mm-hmm. So this is the kind of thing that you're talking about, right?
Exactly. That is what's happening. And as a personal story maybe. So I'm currently number one in tennis in the US in the men's 50 plus.
Wow.
And I just started in March to play tournaments again, which this year I just felt like doing this, and I wanted to see how far I can take it with everything I'm doing for my health and energetic well-being. And it's quite surprising. And one of the things, certainly you get more energy, your cells work better and almost, yeah, because other people that don't do that, they can't run as fast, they don't last as long and all of those things, right? But there's one aspect is also that I'm noticing when I was younger in my life, I couldn't learn the things for better shots, for example, as well as I can do it now. If I take a coaching lesson, for example, and I need to do something and change something, I'm so much quicker in applying that and doing that. My clear feeling is that is because I'm so much more connected with myself. It's just so much easier to translate that, to do that, to notice what I'm doing and how I can do it differently, that you just become better so much quicker. So that speaks to that. And in general, I think, we use that's the common thing in the world, right? We are in our brains and we think with our brains, and you can have highly intelligent people there that think through every problem, but they have no clue what's actually going on in the world, and they don't have the bigger picture. And right now, we're at a threshold where there will be a lot of people that will just stay in their brains and they will just stay where they are and they're not going to do the quantum leap. And everyone else that actually gets out of here and taps into the big consciousness field, you can process a billion times more information in a second if you tap into that than by just using this. This is so limited. If we just understood, this is still great, this is amazing, but if we tap into this, we have all the information available and accessible. And that's what it is all about. We need to open ourselves. And that's really where the technology helps, because it raises our vibration and it increases the access to our knowing, to our own essence. And that is the reason why all these positive changes physically also happen, because they're ripple effects in the end of the day. And you said, we're taking care of supplements. We try to breathe good air and drink good water and all of these things to exercise. Yeah, that's all great and it's all necessary. But if we brush our teeth in the morning, we take a shower in the morning, we take care of our physical body. Why don't we take care of our biofield? That should be the first thing we should take care of, and at least take it into consideration that we also take care of the biofield. And I hope more and more people will do that. I'm actually convinced they will.
Right. Well, it's very inspirational, because if you meet someone like yourself and you go, oh, okay, there's evidence all around you that something has dynamically shifted with you. Your coordination is way more tuned in, your fast muscle twitches, your overall intelligence. You're not just relying on that which is within you. you are tapping into that, what I call the absolute, because there are absolute laws that have always existed. They always will exist. They're in the eternal realm. And people say the word eternal, I think that's religious. It's not. It's that which is the absolute. Because if we get into a fight with Mother Nature, we lose every single time. Mother Nature can't change her laws. The creator of the universe cannot change his laws. They can't change. Even the creator himself cannot change anything. But has allowed a situation to where we could be dumped into a realm that's very compromised. And I think the reason that we were dumped in here, and I say the word dumped because I didn't ask to come here, not that I know of, but I'm so thankful I am here because I'm now able to have those attributes of healing and deliverance and protection and provision the more I tap into that unseen realm. And so this is a device, and this is actually a methodology. It's not just a block. There's something far greater than what you're seeing with your visible eyes in your multiple sensory realm is what you're talking about. Whereas otherwise we're blocked from the sensory to that total absolute that can't change. And so if I were to come and deceive you into something that was not real and tell you, oh, by the way, there's a virus in every liter of air suddenly because I said so. And now you have to wear a mask, and now you have to take an injection, and now you have to stand 6 feet apart, and you can't travel, and you got to stay at home and lock yourself in your house. And we watched billions of people do exactly that. And I'm standing there going, what are you guys doing? Right? I'm not doing that. Nobody can tell me to lock myself down. I haven't done anything to lock myself down. I never paid attention to any of it. And I thought, why am I so different? Why am I not at all like all the people around me? Why am I the only one in the entire town not wearing a mask? And I'm not an anti-masker because I don't care about that stuff. I didn't go to a protest. I didn't make any noise. I just continued on in my way and didn't go at all with any of the stupidity that was in the world that was all based on lies and control and manipulation. So I realized, wow, there's something different about me. There's something different about you. And the difference is really good. But the world we live in, when people are not tapped in, they give their power away. So this must be a very major step in the direction of you being in your power that you have every right to, your God-given right to be sovereign. You're in your universe. And so this is protecting your universe from all the contaminated, incorrect thinking, number one, keeping you centered on what's actually true, protecting you, providing that protection you otherwise wouldn't have. So to me, Philip, you have a master key. And when I meet someone with a master key, I pay attention. So I'm picking this up in this conversation live time right now. And what I mean by a master key is that if you look at the world all around us and all the illness, all the problems, all the whatever that crap is, everyone's looking for remedies. And I'm not interested in remedies. I've used them. I was thankful for them when I got them. But you have to have a remedy if you have thousands of different problems that haven't been dealt with. But when you get a single master key, it deletes literally thousands of things at once. And you don't need any of those remedies because you've got the one thing that removed that specific problem. So if you were to categorize the biggest problem people face that your technology deals with, how would you encapsulate that in a couple of sentences?
It's actually well said, and there's not many people that get that right away. This with the master key, or you call it even key technology, because it can even be applied in almost any industry. Um, but the key problem really that it solves is that it helps to raise our consciousness level. And why do I mention that first before the physical? Because the consciousness is always first. It's always the deciding factor, and then the physical comes after. It certainly then, most people don't have a problem consciously that they're aware of with their vibration, right? Because they don't even think in
Mhm.
those terms. They have physical problems, they have cancer, they have arthritis, they have anxiety, insomnia, whatever. All these different symptoms is what people have, and that's what they try to solve.
Mhm.
And yes, our technology has been proven to increase ATP production, to accelerate wound healing, even by 50 to 100%, to improve your blood. It can, I mean, it was shown to reverse stage one and stage two of blood clotting within 10 minutes, right? It has helped 42 autistic kids in a clinical trial significantly to, in some cases, even get off the spectrum. All these different things it did on the physical level, yet I'm saying the key is actually because it raises our vibration, because that is really the key to also help us make other problems go away.
Right. Okay. What I see this as is a extremely significant support mechanism to, and for the name of this podcast, it was inspired by my chief marketing officer because he said everything I told him about that I was learning about and I was actually employing is making my body younger than yesterday. So today I'm actually younger than I was yesterday because I'm on a pathway that completely shifted starting 20 years ago. Because I was born into a very dumbed down family, although they were highly intellectual, very
Same
high
here.
IQs, right? And so from religion to the approach to giving your power away to ask somebody else to help you, like a doctor or a dentist, instead of learning how to take care of your teeth, take care of your body internally, take care of organ function. No, don't do that. Just listen to all the garbage that is produced by these intellects who are dumbed down so hard that we become a product of the environment and the people we hang around with. So just the resonance between you and myself on a call on a Zoom, we're able to resonate. I'm picking up a tremendous amount of quantum intelligence just by speaking with you, because your body, your being, your biofield has been energized by these technologies, and that creates a resonance. So the very fact that it was a synchronicity. I happened to be in Boulder, Colorado this last weekend for an event, and I was touring around. It was actually really interesting. This event was supposed to have 1,000 people show up at it who were going to come and see everybody and visit all the vendors, and no one showed up, right? And my friend who put it together was so upset because all the vendors were like, where's the traffic? How are we going to sell anything? Nobody's showing up. And I'm like, don't worry about it, guys. We're here in a room together, all of us people who are bringing the best stuff to the world. We had time to actually visit. I wouldn't have had time if I was submersed in all these people I had to talk to 100 times over again to explain stuff. And so the fact that no one showed up was so cool. And so I went and I saw this little booth, and there were 3 women sitting there, and they had these little devices. And I had seen your devices before because a friend of mine, Jeanette Souza, who lives in Ontario here, had a block at her house. And when I went over there and she goes, have you seen this? And I go, nope. And she goes, well, you got to check it out. And I have run into so many things. Like, you know what the world's like in this so-called biohacking realm. I don't think you can actually hack your bio. I don't think so. I think it's the wrong term. It's not a hack. But, if I was a hacker and I was going to install your kitchen and I go, I'm a kitchen installer hacker, you go, dude, I just want somebody who is not a hack. I want a pro. I want a real high level, very skilled. Everything's going to be perfectly square. It's going to be installed right. There's going to be no squeaks. Every cupboard door is going to open and close properly. Every drawer is going to be perfect. The sink's going to be perfect. Like a kitchen installer. I like that example because I don't want a hack. I want a pro. And so what you're talking about is tapping into the top of the top. So all these things that are good, they're okay. And then you've got greater things. And then up here, way up here, you've got the greatest. And so when you tap into the greatest levels of that particular device or that protocol or that modality or whatever you want to call it, it has the least amount of time, the least amount of energy, the least amount of investment with the maximum return. So you're not taking any shortcuts, but you're getting the essence of all things at once. And that's what I asked to be led to. So today is the day that I get to speak to you and tap into the actual toppest, highest level, which is the simplest. You know, I looked at the block that she had at her house. It had 3 plates on the top, 3 plates at the bottom. And it's just another device to me at that point. But I thought, that's cool, because I have different devices that do. I mean, I showed you a few things I have. And all those things can now be displaced with one single device. How far does the block actually radiate or emanate or tap into that quantum field from the physical distance, for example?
hmm So it acts like a quantum sun. So the core is really inside those plates, and that's where it's the strongest, and that's also where you can, copy these frequencies and where you can infuse objects. And then outside of that, you couldn't infuse objects anymore. You could infuse water still because water is so receptive to energy, but this then
Mhm.
it gets from a quantum, multidimensional quantum space, which is inside, to a quantum field, the outside, and it does have a radius. So it depends on what block it is, because we have a small travel and car block that still covers easily a regular sized home.
Mhm.
Then if you go into the infinity block, at least the one that we launched in the beginning of the year, and the so-called grand block, they easily have a radius of 1.5 kilometers of the field, but then the EMF harmonization could happen maybe in, let's say, 500 meters. That's maybe 1,500 feet radius. And if you have a lot of towers, in the area, then certainly that radius is a little smaller because it needs to work harder. So it depends a little bit what the environment is, but we're still talking. I mean, even in a really, really rough environment with towers and all of that, it's at least still 600 feet radius, which is big.
Right. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to a conference in Las Vegas. Next Tuesday, I'm flying in for Supply Side West, where they have all the suppliers of all the materials that we are looking for, always that top level, most efficacy of whatever you're going to consume. And I'm going to be in a hotel that has Wi-Fi blasting the entire building. And there's cell towers all around there. There's 1 million people in my radius who are going to be on cell phones, and they're going to be using all this technology. So with a block in my room, I'm actually going to be serving a whole bunch of people in that same hotel, right?
Correct. Yeah. So if you had an infinity block there, it would cover the whole hotel. Yeah.
So it's not going to be an if, it's going to be a when. I want to make sure that I get it ordered and get it sent to that hotel. So when I arrive, I will have it, because I want to have this with me for the rest of my life. So what size should I get for travel?
So if, for traveling, it's way easier to travel with the so-called travel block because it's much smaller. It won't cover the whole hotel, but it will always cover you. And then if you have a booth there or you wander around, you could still have it with you, or you just then have the capsule. But at least the travel block, that's the easiest to travel with. The infinity block is much more difficult to deassemble. It's still not very difficult, but it's also heavy, so if you just go to hotels, that's what we have the travel block for.
Right. And so I can disassemble it, put it in my carry-on. Is it going to be affected at all by the X-rays?
No, it just affects the X-rays.
Okay. Right.
Not that the machines break, of course, that doesn't happen, but it helps everyone that's currently then going through the scanners to not have any issues with the scanners.
No, that's good. Yeah, I hate those stupid scanners. I was always opting out, and then they look at you like you're some kind of pariah, and they make you stand off to the side and wait 15, 20 minutes for somebody to come up and pat you down. So I can just go through the scanners now, and I don't have to be concerned about that.
Correct. Yeah. You could actually also have the capsule. Um, then they may still ask you, what is this? But we have all kinds of ideas of what this is then. And then the block, by the way, of course, you don't tell them this is a quantum energy generator. They'll just have questions then. It's a design stand. It's an art piece. It actually looks like an art piece also. So
Yeah, it's aesthetically beautiful. It's beautiful design. And even if I didn't have anything on my body whatsoever, I step into the stupid scanner. I put my hands up like I'm going to surrender to somebody, right? That's all really part of it. And then I would get out and I would put the block near me and it would purge all that garbage right away.
correct. If you had the block assembled and it would go through with your backpack, for example, or your suitcase, then that would already be enough because the field of it, certainly it's still relatively close to you. So there's no issue then.
Right. So we're talking about significant protection from these
Yeah.
harmful energies that are control devices anyway. Because I don't think there's too many people who would bring a bomb onto a plane. You know? Yeah, that's really interesting. So as far as people feeling your presence differently when you walk into a room, for example, do you have you had testimonies of people saying that suddenly their whole entire reception and perception and appreciation of themselves around other people is improved?
Yeah, and we have multiple of such testimonials, and not only that, but also people going into their homes and then suddenly saying, "Wow, it just feels so nice here. You have such nice energy here in your home," and things like that. Absolutely, yeah, it makes a difference, and people notice it and they talk about it. We have an interesting community actually that's very, very special. We have, I think, across the board, over 10,000 people in our various private Telegram groups, and the largest one, which is the English speaking for all the quantum tech, I think it's almost 8,000 people in a private Telegram group. So there, no bots can get there, no one just can find it. So you literally would have to be interested or being a customer in order to join. And these people share and learn and talk about it and use the technology because you can do so many things with it also. And that's where we hear a lot of the testimonials and use cases also. And that's definitely one that's pretty clear.
The reason this is of such significant importance to me personally is that I found out that I was in the mindset and the emotional, spiritual set, which I will call being immersed in the death culture. So, looking around me, you grow up as a little child, you watch your grandparents get old and pass, and then you get older and you watch your parents get old and they pass away. And all of them were getting a little bit less healthy every single day until they were dead. And I was on that exact track, only I was going to be dead in my 40s before I even turned 50. I'm like, oh, this is super messed up. Like, why is that happening? And why is that not happening to other people around me in their 40s? Why is it happening to me? And so then I found out that every aspect of my life, every aspect, from the way I was thinking to the way that I was giving my power away to the way that I was relying on other institutions to keep me healthy, was the exact problem. And that it was my responsibility to take control and to find out what I had to personally do to support my body's ability to reverse. Like I was literally like an 84-year-old because the average age is 75 to 85. And I don't even care about that anymore because that doesn't apply to us. But at the time it did. I'm thinking, hey, we're supposed to be 75 to 85 years old in this earth, in this age. And here I am at 46. Okay. So then when I started to learn all these different things that I could do, I saw my body completely reverse age back to my normal age. And then I thought, well, how far back could we go? Could we get ourselves to like a 21-year-old? I don't care about looking 21 because I look my age per se. But internally, the internal view is a very young man right now. All my joints have been healed. All my organs are working incredibly well. And I'm still working on different things that are going to improve every aspect of my overall equilibrium. And I don't really use the word balance anymore. I stopped using that because a balance is where you're on a beam, and when you get to the balance, the beam stops. But we're in equilibrium. Everything is a constant flow. So getting into that equilibrium state, like homeodynamics, right? Not homeostasis. Stasis means stopped. I don't want to stop. And so everything's pulsing. So this, what I'm gathering is that this tapping into that energy that always has existed and internalizing that as well, and having that outside, like you raised your arms into this field outside of yourself, into the unseen realm, is far more powerful than even anything that's within my body, because my body couldn't keep up. My body was falling behind. I was full of mold, full of heavy metals, full of chemical overloads, yeast overgrowth, and I had this tumor that showed up to tell me, hey, Ian, dude, wake up. This is what, it was not going to, it would have killed me if I wouldn't have dealt with it. But it took 7 years to dissolve it out of my body just by doing detox. So that was an interesting experience. But I would never have had that to start with if I would have had the knowledge that was available to me at all times before I was born for 1 billion years, right up to this moment, be here for another 1 billion years. And it's just a constant thing. So what you're talking about is having a device that is within your realm, physically close to you, in your house, wearable, sitting in an environment, fixing the environment, number one, fixing my internal by wearing it close to my body, because I found out that your body has, and my body, has only 5 liters of blood. But that 5 liters of blood pumps through 10,000 kilometers of cardiovascular tubing to every single cell in my body every 60 seconds. And our bodies pump 7,200 liters of blood a day. So if we're pumping blood past the device we're wearing, that will also transfer to every cell every 60 seconds. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, in a way, that's certainly correct. Yeah. It's there at all times, and it has an impact at all times. But with the blood, certainly it improves the blood on a constant basis, and as it's pumping suddenly better blood.
Okay, interesting. So I'm wearing these two things already. I have so many, I don't want a whole bunch of things around my neck. So this little device here is very strange. I ran into a gentleman named Michael back in February of this year, and he pulled it out of his pocket, and I bought the most expensive one he had. But he said there are minerals from 12 continents in here, but there's only 7 known continents in our educational realm. Now that 12, an extra 5, okay. Oh, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it has brass with a gold coating, and it has a little design and has these minerals inside. So when I put this inside the block, it's going to supercharge this, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And so then, because everything changed, I'm telling you, like literally from the moment I put it on, I started meeting way higher level people. It was this most bizarre thing. And I started learning more things about health from that moment forward. And now today, it's led me to you somehow. And because I've always been led. So what I have a feeling is that when people pull this super top technology in, that then they're going to be led even more and more and more into the most important things, because I am so done with all the things that everybody in the so-called health space talks about. They always regurgitate the same things over and over again. You go on podcasts, you keep hearing the same things. We already know that stuff. We want something that's going to take us to the top level. And we don't want to talk about all the obvious things. Eat clean, hydrate, get good sleep, move, do fitness training. All those things are just common sense. But without the block, we're not going to get to the levels that we would otherwise get to, is what I'm getting right today.
Well, let's say it that way, you can get there way quicker because in with our own consciousness, everything is possible.
Hmm.
If we knew how to fully tap into it and fully leverage it. Now, 99.9% of the people are definitely not there yet. In order to do that, because with your own consciousness, you can also harmonize electromagnetic fields. You can do all of those things. It's just because it's a muscle that we haven't used,
Hmm.
it's it's not available to most of the people. And even for the ones that it is available to, even high level healers, they use our technology regardless because they don't want to keep a focus on doing that. They rather
Right.
have something that does it for them so they can focus on other things. They don't have to waste their energy with fighting something off or blocking something or neutralizing something. It's just done for them and they can just do other things. That's pretty much how I would see it. So you are right, but I always want to say, ultimately we can do everything on our own, and I hope that we will arrive maybe in 20, 30, 40 years, I don't know when, but if we arrive at a point where our technology is not needed anymore, awesome, because then we will have made that leap and we will be at a different level of consciousness as humanity. And yeah, then we need other things. So,
Hmm. So it's like a quantum leap. And a lot of people who are extremely dumbed down, and it's not their fault, they were dumped into a very dumbed down atmosphere. They are going to, they would have an immediate upgrade, even if they haven't done anything else yet. And what I'm gathering is that they will be inspired to then find out, well, what more can I do? Oh, I could do this, I could do that. But the technology should bring them up to a much higher level of consciousness, become more self aware, more self responsible, take accountability for themselves, and be a benefit to others around them. So the magnification of this, just us being present, just me adding this to my existence, is going to allow me to help a lot more people just by being present with that energy or that tapped in consciousness. So this is
correct.
where this was so exciting because it's done for you. My immune system now is not going to have to work so hard at dealing with all that noise that is now gone because it's going to remove the noise. This brings me back to a nice little one-liner. It's called clean signal to noise ratio. It's like tuning into a radio station when
Mhm.
you're too far from the tower and there's a song or a talk show on you want to hear, but there's so much static and it's like very irritating. But then when you get close enough to the tower and tune it right in, it's super clean, and then all the noise is gone. So this is the ultimate clean signal to noise ratio.
Yes, I would say so. And what's important though, because you said it right? It does these things for you, and I said that too. But at the same time, what it does, it trains our own system, our own biofield to vibrate higher. So let's
Hmm.
say you have a block now for 2, 3 weeks at home, and you're starting to vibrate higher. That's just, that's what happens. It's like having dinner with an enlightened being. After that dinner, you go away and you're like, wow, I feel so much brighter. I shine, I vibrate higher, right? That's pretty much what happens. But then if you go to town
Hmm.
and you just leave the block at home, you're still vibrating high and you have a different vibration than you had 2, 3 weeks ago. And you're less bothered by all the things. And so that's important. It sort of trains you to use that muscle again, even though you may not actively be using it. If you now started to even actively use it, meaning maybe you go into meditation, you try to work with your chakras, you try to visualize things and you try to manifest all these things, right? Suddenly you're starting to train your muscles in a high consciousness field. And yes, you amplify that. So it helps yourself. And I think that's important to note. It's not like an aspirin or an ibuprofen that you constantly need to take
Hmm.
It actually, yeah, I mean, if you keep taking it, it will keep upgrading you because there's almost no limit, right? Consciousness is unlimited by nature. But that's important for me is that people understand that it really helps you do these things and vibrate higher.
Right. So the way I see it, I love analogies. Like, it would be like planting a seed, and you get, put it in good soil. You got an heirloom seed. It's going to sprout. It's going to grow up into a healthy, mature plant. You're going to give it the nutrients it needs, the sunlight, the water, or the whatever, and it's going to grow at a normal rate. Now, this field is going to help things grow much quicker and be stronger faster, repair quickly, retain its health for a much longer life, and also attract the energy as well. So I think
Yeah.
to me, this is going to make us an attractor.
Hmm.
We're going to attract higher level people. Of course, our life is about being around people. Our life is all about serving people, loving people. We serve God by serving and loving people. And the reason I use the word God is because that's the title. That's an object of worship, but it's not groveling on the ground, and prostrate on the ground. It's tapping into the knowledge of that being who has got perfect thinking and replacing all of our incorrect thinking. Because my life was so full of incorrect thinking that everything I thought was wrong and everything I thought was killing me, and now being transferred over to correct thinking is what this is going to do. And so attracting, like you've attracted me into your space, and I've attracted you into my space because I was at a certain level. I wouldn't have been able to meet you 20 years ago. I would have gone, Philip, you're total woo-woo, dude. Like, right?
I may have
So,
said the same thing about you. Well, maybe 24 years ago.
for sure. And I don't mind criticism. I mean, there's always, whenever something is astoundingly powerful and true and real, there's always ridicule right out of the gate. And then there's often violent opposition, maybe verbally violent or physically violent. And then as time goes on, there's acceptance because the truth always prevails, always. That which is the highest level will always supersede. It's like you said, putting it through the scanner at the airport is a higher vibration than that. It can't touch it because it's vibrating higher than that radar machine or that X-ray machine. So yeah, that's super cool. I'm loving it. I'm definitely going to get it into every place we have it in our business, in our house, in our farm, in our barns. I mean, this has got to be everywhere as far as I'm concerned at this point. And it's now this device, when I purchase the device, how long will it last?
Forever, unless you break the material.
Hmm.
If so, the way it works is that if you deassemble it, it doesn't work anymore. And the same is obviously true if you have a truck run over it, right? And then it's broken, then it doesn't work anymore. But as long as you don't do any of those things, it works. It will work all the time. And it actually, so it does not decrease in power or lose its power. It actually slightly increases in power over time, which is, we don't tell a lot of people that because it's just so hard to understand. How can that be, right? But as you use it, it actually slightly increases in power over time.
So do you have any 10-year-old ones I can buy and pay more money for?
Well, so the good news is we're constantly looking at ways to amp up the levels if we can do it, right? So there's always a time for it because at the same time, you need to be mindful about the general public that you don't release products that are vibrating too high because it may
Mhm.
be too much for people. While it's subtle energy, it can be too much for some people. So what we launched in the beginning of the year, for example, the new Infinity blocks, those we could not have launched a year prior just because it was too much. But the interesting thing is that Earth is continuing to vibrate higher, and with that also there are more consciousness levels suddenly possible here on Earth to be leveraged than before, and it keeps shifting. So, which is very exciting. So we already plan for new releases, and Yeah, a lot more is possible now than it was in the past, and it keeps going, which is an exciting fact. We're also focused on the negative stuff that's happening, but on that broader picture, it's actually quite positive what's happening here.
Right. Now, is there a reason you chose brass? Are all the devices made of brass?
Nope, it's just for the capsules, and it was just the best material to be used for those capsules. We also tested brass for the blocks, but it wasn't the best material. We actually use golden anodized aluminum for the blocks.
Hmm.
The best would probably to be using gold, to be honest, but then no one could afford it, and we couldn't afford to have a warehouse with multiple of those.
Hmm.
Silver is a relatively good metal as well, but yeah, gold and aluminum was really great, and also for shipping purposes. And if you want to transport it, it's relatively light, and the aluminum frequency isn't there, right? So that is
Hmm.
completely just already neutralized by itself, basically.
Right.
So
And
just in case
aluminum is,
anyone wonders.
right. Yeah, it's not going to be releasing aluminum into you.
No.
But aluminum is a conductor as well, which is interesting. But because it's gold anodized, that gold anodization is the material that is being supercharged.
Correct. And it's yeah, it also looks nice. Obviously it
Mm.
looks golden, and the golden color itself has something, yeah, very beautiful and very inspiring.
Right. Yeah. So I noticed that when I picked this up, I could, like, if I just put that up to my nose, I can actually smell the brass. If I can smell it, that means it's releasing nanoparticles at all times. Those nanoparticles releasing are all charged as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean the whole field is basically charged. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that release is actually a benefit because I
Yeah.
wasn't sure about that. I thought, okay, it's yeah, because you can literally smell it. Have you checked it out? You can.
No,
It's actually
I
it's
have
actually
not.
a,
I don't think I didn't do that, but I think I know the smell though because I've been around these. Yeah.
yeah. So Amelia, who was on the call to start with to introduce us, as soon as she put it on, she goes, "I can smell it." Like it was down here, and she could smell it,
Yeah.
right? And I thought, "Oh, that's interesting." So yeah, very very cool. And then the little balls that go inside here, they are supercharged, so that's going to further expand the power of this device.
Correct. The capsule itself is charged with these specific frequencies, and then the titanium beads that come inside, they're charged with pure quantum energy, and they boost out the frequencies so that you basically have a field that's this big. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's the idea that you have all those frequencies available, not just in a small field, but in a larger field.
Right. So this is so now if I'm wearing this and you're wearing this through the scalar wave and the quantum field, I'm actually connecting with you wherever you are in the world.
Um, well, not really. I mean, they are somewhat connected, but our connection would still just come through our hearts.
Mm, right.
Yeah.
But
But
you
blocks,
you got
for
to.
example, if you have blocks in so blocks can connect, and then they can also physically connect. So if you have blocks, multiple blocks in a neighborhood, for example, they build this grid, which is actually quite powerful. So they do connect between each other. Yeah.
Right. So the physical connection, that's what we're talking about. There's a physical proximity that they're going to connect. But I think, personally, I think there's a spiritual connection because you've already got a community that people are gathering around and talking about this. So there's a spiritual connection just
Yes.
by having these.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just a matter of getting more people to find out about it. Now, one of the statistical challenges that I've experienced is that once I found out about certain things, and these are physical things that you consume or apply to your skin or wear on your body, there is a certain economical impact. And what we're looking at, like say the world has 8 billion people. Well, that's what they tell us, whoever they are. I don't know if there is or not. I didn't count them. But If you take 1/80th of 1% of the world population, that's 1 million people. So people invest about $10 a day in their health if they have the real knowledge of where to put their money properly. And that means that you're going to have to provide $10 million a day in sales if you have something that's repetitive that people are going to consume. So with this, how many people in the world right now actually have a block and or one of these little pendants?
I actually don't know the answer to that. My guess is about 40,000.
40,000. So that's, what is that?
And the vast majority of those would have just the wearables. The blocks
Right.
is definitely less. Yeah.
So we're talking 4% of 1/80th of 1% of the world population right now that has awareness of this and actually utilizes it. That's not even a pixel on the screen. So for production, if people start catching on to this, or rather when they catch on to this, are you able to scale and produce enough product for them?
Yes.
So
Yep.
the technology you have is proprietary, the way that you charge this.
Yes, correct.
It's like a trade secret.
Yes, that's correct. We decided instead to just make the extension of this technology available to everyone. Because if one gets the block, you can suddenly do other amazing things. So you could, for example, then copy the frequency of your amulet here and put it into a silver coin and give that to your neighbor as an example. You can do a lot of amazing things, and you're pretty much sufficient in terms of your access to energy, to not the electricity energy, but to the quantum energy.
Okay. So one last question. You get a block, you put that coin, you put that whatever is going to be in that device, you charge it for hours and hours. How long will that charge last in that coin?
With metals, we suggest to actually not charge it for more than 2 minutes in these blocks because you can overcharge metals also. It's very quick. The process of being infused with quantum energy in these blocks is super, super quick. And the charge lasts for almost forever. So, at least another 300 years, if not longer. We don't know what the next Gs will be, the 6G, 7G, 8G, and so on, because they tend to suck quantum energy out of objects. So we don't know how that will turn out. So, but as of now, it would last quite long.
So if I get a 99.9% pure gold coin, put it in the machine for a couple of minutes,
As
I've
long
got
as
a
you live, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, good. And we're going to be living quite a long time, so that's important. All right, well, Philip, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your investment and sharing all this amazing wisdom and knowledge with us today. And where can we find you? How do people engage?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I really enjoyed the conversation. LeelaQ.com, that's LeelaQ.com is the website. If you look for a Telegram icon there, then you can find the Telegram group that I talked about, which may be a good spot to start to just listen in and maybe hear from other people about it. And you could find me there as well. And then, I'm personally on Instagram if you want to follow me. Yeah. And certainly the company at Leela Quantum would be I think Instagram for Leela Quantum. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, LeelaQ, the letter Q, and then .com. Very good. All right, Philip, been a blast. We'll catch up to you again really soon. We'll have you on for another interview and we'll have deeper discussions. So thanks
Thanks
so
so
much.
much. It was great. Have a great day.
All right, make it a good one. Catch you later.